Sir, I'm 23, male, and live in California. Last year, I decided to use Tinder for the first time. I'd previously used Hot or Not and Plenty of Fish, but mostly just got bots and scammers, so I already wasn't very big on online dating. However, I was feeling bored on Friday afternoon, so I decided to install Tinder and just see what happens. After creating an account, I began swiping people, and it wasn't more than like a half hour after I'd gotten off the app that I got matched up with someone. For a little context, I am what you might call bisexual. I hate labels, but that is what I fall under, I suppose, and I matched with a 25-year-old dude named Aiden. Aiden was what I would call attractive, and he had similar interests in gaming and coding as I did. I decided to go and send him a message, but before I could even type a single letter, he sent me one. The message read, "Hey, I saw you're new to Tinder and thought I'd reach out to you and say hi." I replied hi back, and the two of us began talking about our love for video games, movies, and coding. He told me he's a full-time coder and makes a salary only working 4 hours a day. He asked me if I'd be down to come and chill with him. I then offered to have him over to my house because I was alone and he lived with his parents. He seemed very excited all of a sudden and said he'd love to come over. We agreed on him coming in an hour so that I could tidy up my room and get my PC ready for gaming. After about an hour or so, I sent him my address and he said he was on his way. Now, normally I wouldn't have invited someone to my house that I've never met, but this guy seemed harmless and he was attractive, so I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I heard a knock at my front door and I looked out the peephole and saw it was Aiden. He had a bottle of red wine in his hand and a smile across his face. We hadn't discussed drinking wine together, but I did in fact like red wine, and the brand he had brought with him just so happened to be my favourite brand. I opened the door and greeted him. I told him that wine was my favourite and asked him if he's a mind reader. He laughed and said that I just strike him as a red wine kind of guy. I asked him how he planned to get home if he ended up drinking too much, and he said he Ubered to my house. We ended up having a couple of glasses of wine on my back patio, just talking about life, work, and shared our coming out stories. After the wine, we went inside to play PC and had a blast. After the gaming, he showed me his laptop which he had brought with him and showed me his work. Eventually, I had to use the restroom, so I excused myself to pee. I then heard him approach the bathroom door and turn the knob. Because I didn't lock the door behind me, he just came right in, completely unannounced and without any warning, just starts grinding on me from behind whilst forcefully grasping my shoulders. I shoved him off me and just kind of jokingly said, "That's a bit intrusive." He just smiled at me and said, "I just wanted to see how you'd react." I left the bathroom and walked into the kitchen with him walking right behind me. I asked him if he wanted more wine or maybe some water, but before I could grab the water bottles from the fridge, this dude pushed himself up against me and groped my private parts while smiling at me super creepily. This time, I was completely taken back. I shoved him off me forcefully and yelled at him. I told him we had just met and that I didn't think it was the right time to just jump into something sexual. He said I was just a waste of time and said that I had no idea what I was doing and that I gave gays a bad name, then said I was being homophobic. I told him that if I was homophobic that I wouldn't be hanging out with him and talking about the way we were. I told him I found him attractive but that he was crossing major boundaries. He just laughed and said, "In the LGBTQ community, there are no boundaries," and then just like that, he said he had to go. Thank God, is what I thought to myself. I walked him to the front door, and he walked out without saying goodbye or anything. I didn't think anything else of it, and decided I needed to take a shower. I got in the shower, and about 5 minutes into it, I kept hearing this tink tink sound coming from the other end of the door. I peek out through the sliding door of the shower and look down toward the bottom, and to my shock, I see Aiden. holding a freaking spoon to the bottom of the door, looking in at me while I'm showering. I could only see this because of how high off the floor the door sat. Not knowing what to do, I just pretended to not notice him and slowly turned the shower off. I got out, wrapped a towel around my waist, and prepared to confront him by yanking open the door. Before I could do that, I heard him snap a picture with his phone. I flung the bathroom door open and he flew down the hall and out of my front door. I saw him get into a white Honda Civic and drive away. He had lied about taking an Uber for some reason. I have no idea what the hell he took a picture of or why he took it in the first place, but I can imagine that it wasn't for anything good. I immediately blocked him on Tinder and was paranoid that he'd return. So that's my story of the Tinder creep who groped me in my own house. So, I had a date several years ago. Met this dude online, and I really should have paid attention to the red flags. This guy had no sense of humour, and wouldn't type so much as an LOL or a smiley face when I tried to joke with him. He seemed kind of serious, but he had a lot of intriguing things to say, and we had a lot of the same interests, so I figured maybe he would be better in person. After creepy encounters in the past, I made sure to message one of my best girlfriends before going out on a date. I told her where we were going and the car he drove, and even his name. I even sent her a picture of his profile as well. Anyway, on to the date. I met him at a restaurant that happened to be next to a hiking trail. Weird, right? Well, during our time eating, his sense of humour had not appeared at all. It was creepy. Like, every time I made a joke or laughed, he would just stop what he was doing and stare right through me, like staring at nothing. His eyes resembled the cold, emotionless eyes of a doll. It creeped me out. Then he started talking, and it got worse. He started talking about his job, and how he felt slighted by everyone, and that he deserved to be treated better, because he was smarter than them. Serious psychopath red flags was going off in my head. He never had any emotion on his face either. No smile. No laugh. Just a constant blank face and blank stare with those predatory eyes. And then, he wanted to go for a hike. Oh my god. I said I needed to go to the bathroom. Told my friend everything via phone call. She was to make up a story to allow me to ditch the date. I should have just crawled out of the window and left, but I didn't want to be rude. I don't know, I kind of felt bad. My friend was going to call me in 10 minutes with her story. So, we started down the hiking trail. There were plenty of people around, so I relaxed for a bit. But then, he kept trying to take me off the trail to look at a great spot he found when he was here earlier. He had been off the trail here before. I panicked, sent my friend an SOS. She called with the story that her car broke down or something and needed me to get her. The dude wasn't buying it and insisted on meeting my friend. We both drove to the restaurant separately, so why would he need to meet my friend? He became frustrated and a little angry, the first emotion I'd ever seen on his face. I rushed back up to the trail where I could be seen. The anger on his face vanished. He decided to stay where he was in the trail, and thankfully didn't see me off when I left. I don't know if this dude was truly dangerous or not, but the feeling in the pit of my stomach told me to get the hell out of there. So, this happened when I was in my early 20s. I was on Plenty of Fish, looking to meet a nice guy. I had a few conversations going with some people, but they quickly became lewd, then aggressive when I expressed my lack of interest in hookups. There was one guy, who was maybe 5 years older than me, that had messaged me, and he was the only one that didn't act like the others had. We had normal conversations, and I thought, what the heck, when he wanted to meet up. I was in the Navy at the time, and it turned out he was too. on the same base even. I lived off base, mind you. He claimed to be a martial arts instructor that taught classes at the gym by the barracks. He seemed nice and all, so we set up the date, but something about him bothered me. I'm used to making people laugh and joking around since I'm sort of a class clown, but with this guy, I got nothing. He would never respond when I made a joke, just would carry on with what we were talking about before. He seemed almost too serious, but I chose to ignore it. Anyway, the night before I was to meet him, I got a strange phone call from an unknown caller. Like one of those numbers that says unknown or blocked or something, so you can't call them back. I wasn't going to answer, but I'm glad I changed my mind. The person on the other end of the phone sounded female and a little frantic. She said, "Hello? Is this?" and used my name. I paused. "Who?" I answered. She then said, "I know you have a date tomorrow with," the guy's name, "and I'm telling you not to go. He's a rapist." I was kind of startled she knew my name and the guy's name, and I responded with, "What the hell? Who are you?" And she pleaded for me to hear her out. She said she was an IT for the Navy, which is how she was able to hack his account and find our messages to each other, including my phone number. She used my phone number to look me up in the base directory, found my name and address, or so she claims. That freaked me out. She then tells me he lured her somewhere private to rape her after meeting her on Plenty of Fish. I asked if she reported it. She said no, because nobody would believe her because her rank was so low. I didn't know if this was some psycho X or if this was real or not, but I wanted nothing to do with it. I thanked her for her time and promptly cancelled the date. I want no part of rape or any crazy exes. No thank you. Especially since she stalked both of them and me. I don't know. Something didn't sit right about that encounter. The dude called me the next day and asked why I cancelled. I made something up. He then says, "She called you, didn't she?" I froze. I didn't know what to say. He then said, "I thought so," and hung up. I blocked his number after that.